How's it going, Lazy Bruces? I'm Sixkilla, and welcome to the first episode of Ever 17 Out of Infinity. This has been highly requested. It is a game that I've been meaning to get around to for quite some time. It is an old game, 2005, if I'm not mistaken. I should have looked that up first. It is one of Kotaro Uchikoshi's older titles. It is a visual novel. There are 4 games, I believe, in the series, and this is the second, but I'm told that this is the first one worth playing. But yeah, I've been meaning to get around to it. It was Binary Lev who put me onto it. Thank you. Thank you to him, as usual, for helping me out. Let's jump in, shall we? Alright, new game. I don't really know what to expect at this stage. I don't know how hard it's going to be to work out the different paths and stuff, because this is quite old compared to, like, even the oldest Zero Escape. I think 999 was like 2009 or something. So this is pretty old. He was in the middle of a blue world. As far as the eye could see, a sheet of water reached into the distance. Okay, space does not progress. It's some kind of menu? Interesting. So this is a quick load, quick save, etc. Okay, let's carry on. The May sun shimmered on its surface. Above, high above, stretched a clear blue sky. The fresh, new sky looked so glossy and vivid that it might spill down to earth at any moment. That was all that was reflected in his eyes. The straight line of the horizon stretched into the distance, dividing the sea from the heavens. So tranquil, he muttered. A solitary seagull traced a gentle arc in the sky as the wind carried it away. The wind, full of the smell of the ocean, blew by him gently. The din of people could be heard in the background. This starts very similar to Return to Shirogarasu Island on the boat. The merry sound of children's voices echoed brighter than the sunlight pouring down. So peaceful. It was like being inside a dream. May 1st, Monday. 10 miles from M Island, Komagahara Archipelago, Tokyo. The man-made island, Incel Null, rose above the waves of the water. It seemed like a place removed from reality. The word utopia might have sprung to mind to describe it. Actually, a slab of rock on the dock of this floating island were carved the following words. Where is heaven? Above the sky and at your feet. Leaning out over the railings of the island, he gazed into the ocean depths. In the blue distance, he saw a massive metallic structure swaying gently. Utopia, huh? He mumbled and looked back casually. And there was a tanuki, or raccoon dog. His eyes met those of the animals. For a moment, they eyed each other in silence. Hello? To clear the air, he nodded his head. The animal turned away, ignoring him. Upon closer inspection, he noticed something biting the animal from behind. What the crap is going on? It was a young girl. She was shaped like a person? Looking closer revealed that there was something strange about her as well. There's a dog biting her ass. Namely, a small tanuki attached to the girl's backside. In front of him, there was a big tanuki being bitten by the girl who was being bitten by a smaller tanuki. Okay. The scene was enough to make him lose his sense of reality. He rubbed his eyes, rubbing them some more and opening his eyes again. Even after blinking several times, the bizarre scene refused to go away. Hey, would you do something about this kid? I might get rid of the audio. Said I'm going to be narrating over it anyway. Would you do something about this kid? Whispered the big tanuki. But the words didn't reach his mind because it was so busy trying to process the absurd scene. I must be dreaming, right? That was what he was really thinking. A dream that would not let him wake up. In whiteness, a cold white reality stretching forever. He felt the difference in temperature in his skin. The shock of it finally forced him to open his eyes. He wondered how long he'd been sitting. It couldn't have been long. He'd only been in the park an hour. He'd been sitting on the beach the whole time, eating the same ice cream. It's cold. Of course it was. It had melted into a muddy mess. Melted vanilla ice cream trickled onto his hand, spilling on his lap. Whoa, that's cold. The ice cream slowly soaked into the fabric of his pants. Finally, the coldness of it had spread completely, soaking into his skin. He'd been sitting there a while. He'd been sitting so long. But the person he was waiting for never came. There was no sign that she would. I wonder why she hasn't come. He didn't know. Why am I here? He felt like he was teetering on the verge of utter confusion. Oh well. He shook his head and sighed. It didn't seem like his pants would dry anytime soon. What's wrong? He sensed a slight movement, and a girl sat down next to him. She was sporting the theme park uniform, a white outfit with a bluish ribbon. She looked like a guide. Are you lost? A beaming, innocent smile appeared on her shining face. Did you get separated from your friends? Yeah. I've been waiting. Waiting? Well, I was waiting. You were waiting. For me? No. He was flustered as her grinning face peered into his. I was told to wait here, so... I see. But it looks like they're not coming. She gave him a sideways glance. Listen, you've obviously been stood up and are tired of waiting. I know. Her face suddenly lit up and she clasped her hands together. Hey, you're alone, right? Huh? Well, you're bored, right? How about I give you a tour of LeMU? She tugged at his arm. Without waiting for his reply, she made him stand. But I'm waiting for someone. Waiting for who? Who was it? He couldn't think of the name. Well, I don't know who you're waiting for, but if they haven't showed up yet, don't you think you've waited long enough? She said this happily, almost prancing around. What do you say? How about it? Alright. He nodded slightly. The girl's name tag glittered brightly against the white fabric of her uniform. You? That was what it said. I'm you. I'm you? Yep. She nodded. My name's you. My last name is Tanaka. You? My real name is much longer though. Longer? Long like endlessly long, but it's such a pain, you can just call me you. Nice to meet you. With that, she enthusiastically stuck out her hand. Nice to meet you? Without thinking, he shook her hand. And before he'd realized it, he'd been sucked along into her rhythm. So shall we go? They released hands reluctantly. He looked he looked again at his hand, which had moments before connected them. The vanilla ice cream that had spilled on it had completely melted away. Oh, to have sticky hands. You touched it with sticky hands. Huh? He noticed that the two tanuki had formed a line and were proceeding together. In front of them was a massive gate that was sealed shut. The gate swung open soundlessly, and the big tanuki, little tanuki, and the girl went inside. Finally, my turn. He followed on their heels. This was LeMU's only entrance for visitors. Several park employees waited at the gate and handed over what looked like earphones to the visitors. It seemed that the earphones were to be used at some point up ahead. He wondered why. Looking around skeptically, but obeying instructions, he stepped into the building. He surveyed the ceiling. There were no windows. From the polished round walls, it was clear the room was dome-shaped. He looked around. Many of the visitors who had been waiting in line headed into the room. Among them were friends, amorous couples, people with their families. The Tanuki family had, however, split up it seemed. The big Tanuki shoved its way through the crowd of people and continued through the door on the other side of the room. The young girls stayed on the same side of the room as the little Tanuki. I got no clue what these Tanuki are all about, but I guess my friends aren't here either. He didn't see any familiar faces around. He figured maybe they'd already taken the far elevator downstairs. Just 20 minutes earlier, the visitor room had reached capacity, and the friends he'd been waiting with had gone ahead, leaving him behind to go down with the next group. Oh well, I'll be sure to find everyone down below soon enough. Finally, the gate to the entrance slipped shut quietly. The big Tanuki fiddled with something on the wall, and the room got a shade darker. Hello everybody. A park employee emerged out of the darkness. You wondered where she'd come from. She was wearing a flashy dress. The dim light shining on her made her seem like a character from some dream. What? No reaction, folks? I'll try that again. Hello. Hello. It was the girl who, just a little while ago, had been attached to the rear of a large tanuki. Oh, I found a girl with some spunk. What's your name? I'm Koko Yagami. This is my pet dog, Pippi. Or Pippi? So that isn't a tanuki, it's a dog. I thought they didn't let pets in here. He tilted his head doubtfully. So, Koko, how many times have you been into LeMU? Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5... This is my first time. Aren't you a funny girl? I get that a lot. You want me to do something even more funny? No. What? My friend taught me a good joke the other day. Oh, maybe some other time. Why not? Because I have to tell everyone something right now. Oh, okay then. But it's really funny. That's too bad, huh, Pee-Pee? Woof. Once again, on behalf of the LeMU Marine Theme Park, I'd like to thank you very much for coming. I'm about to give you a brief explanation about the LeMU theme park and tell you a few things to watch out for. Hey, who cares? Hurry up and let us inside already. I would love to take everyone inside, but I'm terribly sorry. Everyone actually will have to stay in this compression chamber for now. It'll only take 17 minutes, so please, just bear with me for that long. First, let me explain a bit more about this room. It is called the compression chamber. Starting from now, the air pressure in here is going to rise to 6 atmospheres. Why do you think it's necessary to raise the air pressure? I'll explain the reason for that in a moment. But before that, let me tell you a few things you should be aware of. As the air pressure rises, you may start to feel a strange sensation in your ears, like when you're descending a mountain or in an airplane. It's because the increased air pressure is pressing on your eardrums. So if you think your ear feels a bit strange, pinch your nose with your fingers, close your mouth tight and try to pop your ears. If that doesn't help your ears get back to normal, or if you don't feel well, please raise your hand and let me know. In the event that happens, we will immediately stop increasing the air pressure. By the way, are there any people here that don't know how to pop their ears? Is everything clear then? Alright then, we'll initiate the rise in pressure. As I said before, the time required to increase the pressure is 17 minutes. During that time, I'll explain to everyone about the structure of LeMU. As you all know, LeMU is floating in the ocean, at a depth of between 51 and 103 feet. Now, if you look at this chart, you'll see that the structure is divided into 4 layers. From the top, these are called Incel Null, Erste Boden, Zweite Stock, and Dritte Stock. In terms of a normal building, you might think of it as a structure with a ground floor extending down to a 3-story basement. Incel Null here is a floating island. It is an immense man-made island floating in the ocean. In German, Incel means island, and Null means 0. In other words, this is floor 0, or the ground floor. Next is Erste to Dritte. Just then, hey, you! Hey, I'm talking to you! As he was listening to the explanation, someone pulled on him from behind. He turned to look around. It was the girl who'd just been talking with the park staff. What was her name again? Hey, don't you want to know about my joke? Oh, that's right, her name was Coco. And that animal she's holding is Pepe or Popo or something. You want to know, don't you? Huh? What? The joke I was talking about. It's an Ami joke. An Ami joke? You haven't heard about them? They're real popular now, you know. No, I haven't. What are you talking about? An Ami joke is an American joke. Get it? Ami joke. Oh, really? Makes you want to hear it, right? Want me to tell you? Jesus Christ. I'm gonna have to save already. Otherwise I'm gonna die. I know I am. No, we're gonna listen to the staffer's explanation. Yeah, I suppose it could be worse, but I'll talk to you later. Huh? Patting the little dog's head, he turned back to listen to the explanation. So now you should have a general understanding of the layout of each floor. By the way, LeMU was designed with saturation diving specifications. In other words, the air pressure inside is equivalent to or greater than the water pressure outside. As I said at the beginning, the complex that we're all going to enter is filled with a mixture of gases at 6 atmospheres. So right now, our bodies are adjusting to be able to handle the pressure equivalent to 6 atmospheres. Of course, this mixture of gases is composed of oxygen, nitrogen, and helium, as it's completely harmless to people. The reason for raising the air pressure inside is that it is essential to make LeMU safe for everyone. Okay everyone, we're now going to enter the ocean. Are any of you here feeling just a little bit nervous? You might be worrying about what would happen if seawater started leaking inside, or that You might be crushed by the water pressure or are sinking. However, please relax, there is nothing to worry about. There is absolutely no way that LeMU could be crushed by the outside water pressure because we've raised the air pressure inside. By the way, before we entered this pressurization chamber, we handed out earphones to everyone, remember? Yes, that's right. The earphones that everyone is using right now. These are not your average earphones. They're voice alternators. LeMU is pumped full of helium gas, so without these in your ears, you'll sound like a duck. He removed his voice alternators to see what would happen. It's true, people really do sound like ducks. Then again, maybe they sound more like aliens than ducks. The voice of the people around him jumped to a strange higher tone. Hey, say something. Like what? Haha, your voice is hilarious. Huh? My voice? What's wrong with my voice? You weren't listening to the explanation. What are you laughing at? Why are you smiling like that? You're acting really weird. Well, why don't you try listening to your own voice? Huh? It's so funny, you sound like an 8-legged alien. Alien? Alien as in take us to your leader. Gooba Juba Dooba space alien. Like a Martian or someone from planet Kwee or something. A star person from the far edge of the galaxy with lasers. I like her, she's funny. My joke was a lot funnier than that. That's enough. I can't take this anymore, thanks. He placed the voice alternators back in his ears again and turned back to watch the staffer. And that pretty much covers it. In approximately 1 minute, the door on this side of the room will open. On the other side of the door is an elevator, and at the bottom of it, a brilliant paradise awaits. We hope that you enjoy yourself to your heart's content, here at the marine theme park LeMU. So should we go? Just as she headed for the elevator. So are you here by yourself? Who, me? No, I got separated from my friends. So you're lost? Not exactly, but something like that. I'll head down the elevator and take a look around. How about checking with that girl who was just talking? I suppose I could do that. Excuse me. Looking back, he saw the employee had already disappeared. So you came to LeMU by yourself? Yep, that's right. Even so, after bending down to wipe the white stain off his pants, he stood up. You don't see that very often, a guy coming to a park like this alone. That's true. It was a paradise, an amusement park. In that instant, he'd almost forgotten even that. So, why didn't you go into the park with your friends? Why arrange to meet inside LeMU? That's because, now that you mentioned it, who had said to wait on that bench? Whose idea was it anyway? Oh well, whatever. I won't push you. Who was it? But I suppose that, well, I mean, you've kind of been stood up, right? What? Stood up? Stood up? It took a moment for the meaning of the word to register. Wow, I hit the nail on the head, didn't I? Sorry. She shrugged, slightly embarrassed. Well, don't get depressed about it. She changed modes abruptly and let out a hearty laugh. She slapped him solidly on the back. I'll look out for you, alright? Alright. He nodded, a bit overwhelmed. So, I stood up. I must have been dumped. Huh? Then again, he wasn't sure exactly what had happened. But... Huh? What? Aren't you working right now? You? You make a scary boss. No matter how many times you check, he was definitely still wearing a LeMU uniform. I didn't have anything to do anyway. It's perfect timing, yeah. They got in an egg-like elevator together. The egg slowly began to move. It felt like they were slowly floating up. Going up. Are we two different people right now? Because we're like with that girl with the tanukis, but we're also with that you girl. It's two different people. Are we two different people? I'm confused. She whispered mischievously. The elevator was terribly crowded, and everyone is packed in like sardines. Well, it's a little hot, huh? I'll say. Her face was so close he almost bumped into it. Their bodies were flush against each other. She was soft and warm. He was surprised. All of a sudden, he felt embarrassed and started to squirm. Hey kid. Hey, don't go touching places you shouldn't. She whispered into his ears, puffing out her cheeks. Crammed in the elevator, he couldn't even move an inch. It tickles, don't move so much. I don't have a lot of choice. I can't breathe. He couldn't move, but he couldn't bear standing still either. As he gasped for breath, he noticed her light perfume. Finally, the egg arrived at the top floor, and his suffering was over. Whew! He let out a cry and bolted from the elevator. Well, what's with you all of a sudden? Hey, wait, kid? Kid? He sprinted away, leaving Yu far behind. Her name being Yu was going to get confusing. It wasn't that he was trying to escape from her. He'd seen something. At the edge of his vision, he thought he'd seen someone. Up ahead, that someone was still visible. He chased after whoever it was, like a man possessed. I've seen that face before. I'm sure I've seen that face before. That was what his instincts were telling him. But where had he seen them? He tried to sort through his foggy memory. As he sifted, he kept running forward. Wait! He felt a desperate need to meet that person, but he had to hurry. Eventually he ran out of breath. Holding his pounding chest, he looked up. There she was. Mixed amongst the other people was a girl standing. He was sure that person that he had been searching for was this girl. It was in the middle of the holidays, but for some reason, she was wearing her school uniform. He wondered why she was alone here. Oh yeah, I've got to talk to her. She was by herself. She was all alone, just like him. What should I say? Where should I start? Let's see. He needed to calm down and focus. Huh? Why did I have to talk to her? Why in the world? Who was she? Who was she? She's... He was caught up in a wave of people. He got pushed towards an elevator. It started to rise towards the surface. 51 feet below sea level, the elevator stopped at the basement floor 1. He got off the elevator as if he were being spit out. The floor was called Boden. I'm probably saying that wrong, but sorry. He glanced around at his surroundings. She wasn't anywhere to be seen. He thought that they'd both ridden on the elevator together, but he had apparently lost sight of her in the crowd when he got off. I lost her. He hadn't even been able to say a word. He really felt depressed. Maybe... did she call out to me? That idea suddenly popped into his head. What is this feeling? His heart was still beating furiously. Is something the matter? A uniformed staff member, different than you, was talking to him. It's a completely different uniform. Are you looking for someone? She gave him a warm smile as she said this. Yes, I am. Feeling that he seemed a little desperate, he quickly blurted out an answer. I'm trying to find someone. I was supposed to meet up with them, but we must have missed each other. Who is it? What's their name? Their name. Hey, you there, wait! Suddenly the sound of footsteps came running at him. Huh? You mean me? Yes, that's right. Running feet braked sharply beside him. This guy was out of breath. Actually, I wanted to ask you something. Huh? Surprised, he slowly opened his mouth. Hey, you don't know, do you? There was nothing to do but see where the conversation went. You're a different person. Sorry to ask you like this out of the blue, but you don't know, do you? You haven't seen my friends around here, have you? One of them was about 5'1", around 140 pounds, kind of good looking, with dorky sunglasses and probably not the type girls would go for. Another was wearing a suit, no tie, short hair, and has 3 piercings in his ears, and 1 in his nose. He likes to knit. Random. And then there was the only girl in the group, who had on a kind of simple colour flower print, 1 piece with frilly lace. You know, 3 people you might see anyway. Did you see them? Nope. Oh, we're this person. Oh, I get it now. So we were in that guy that we're looking at, kid's perspective before, and we just swapped to the perspective of the person that just caught up to him. So we're switching between these 2 characters that are talking to each other. That's very confusing. The young kid shook his head. I see, well, sorry about stopping you like that. Waving slightly, he left. The youth continued down the corridor ahead. A girl came over to him and started talking to him enthusiastically. He thought he'd seen her before. I wonder if she knows that kid. But a troubled expression appeared on his face. Hey, do you want to hear a joke? Huh? What? Who are you? So that's it. She was probably one of those kind of people that would talk to anyone about anything anywhere, whether you were interested or not. I know the type. He thought he would go down below. The elevator arrived soundlessly and swallowed the waiting patrons. Graphic. He went with them further into the depths of LeMU. He walked around aimlessly. The attractions were all packed with visitors. Everyone had beaming smiles and yelled happily, all evidence of LeMU's popularity. But still, wandering around a packed and lively amusement park all alone was a bit torturous. He couldn't help trudging around with heavy feet and slumped shoulders. He was on the verge of looking depressed, but He held his expression in check. What am I gonna do? Walking around in this place blindly, he thought he might never run into his friends. The floor was a lot wider than he'd imagined. Oh right, my cell phone. He took his PDA multi-purpose communication device out of his pocket. He pushed a button. You can tell it's the early 2000s because people had PDAs. He didn't have any messages, no mail either. But the problem seemed to be, it was out of range. You're underwater. At least that's what this place said. Are you serious? I didn't think you could get out of range in this day and age. Then he recalled that they'd said something about this being a giant tunnel in the middle of the ocean, where only select radio waves could be reached. And that LeMU used special electronic equipment, which wasn't very compatible with mobile equipment. More than anything, they didn't allow PDAs to work inside, so the facility would be completely separated from the world above, as part of the attraction. Oh, I know this place is going to go to hell then, and we're going to get stuck in here. Look at this guy with the trident. What the fuck is he doing? He looks like the sea cucumber guy from SpongeBob, Kevin. At least, that's what they told him at the entrance, but he hadn't listened to a word of it. Maybe I should get them to broadcast a message over the intercom. He thought it might be best to just ask a staff member. He decided to look for one, but there wasn't a uniformed person in sight. There weren't many people walking around the corridors either. He turned a corner and entered a completely different corridor. There, right in front of him, was the giant tanuki. It was the one he'd seen at the gate coming in. The tanuki was operating a panel on the wall. I bet that's a LeMU employee. Thinking it perfect timing, he saddled up to the tanuki and called out, "Excuse me, I'm looking for someone. A friend. Can I get you to make an announcement over the intercom or something? The name is, The tanuki slowly turned around and looked at him. But it didn't say anything. Hello? Hello? The tanuki turned away, avoiding him. He was being ignored. I wonder if it didn't hear me. The tanuki was wearing a big stuffed suit and was a full head taller than him. There was a definite possibility that his words weren't even reaching the ears inside. Hello? Can you hear me in there? He asked the question nicely as he poked the tanuki in the ribs. Hey, you get a lot of extra flesh there, buddy. He continued talking as he pinched, pulled and released the tanuki's flank. He thought that for a mascot suit, the tanuki shot him a pretty realistic glare before it turned to walk away. Upset at that, he grabbed the tanuki's shoulder. Hey, what kind of an attitude is that? And when a visitor's in trouble. Oh shit. He'd been gut punched. The tanuki had actually slugged him. Not even his parents had ever really spanked him before. It had been a total cheap shot. The tanuki had landed a solid uppercut. Hey, tanuki. Yeah, I mean you. He went down to his knees and keeled over. Nearby visitors reacted. Is everything alright? Just then a park employee appeared from the door. Are you having stomach pains? Kind of. I'm gonna quick save again. What's with all these different faces? It was the tanuki. The tanuki killed me with a body blow. Huh? The employee gave him a surprised look. I got sucker punched by that tanuki. He pointed at the big tanuki. The tanuki's expression didn't change. But it turned and started to run. The tanuki silhouette pranced lightly away into the distance. And in an instant, it had disappeared down the walkway. The staffer looked after the tanuki as she spoke. That's not a tanuki, that's a lemur. LeMU? What? He rubbed his still aching stomach as he spoke. Yes, a lemur. You know, a fox-like monkey. And his name is Mew. LeMU had been named after the continent of Lemuria, a legendary land. According to the British zoologist Schlatter, the Lemurian continent preceded the existence of the islands scattered throughout the Indian Ocean. Lemurs were scattered throughout Africa, the island of Madagascar, Asia and Indonesia. While investigating the distribution of these fox monkeys, Schlatter came to believe a continent had existed in the Indian Ocean, adopting the British geologist Branford's hypothesis. He named this continent Lemuria. Moreover, the German zoologist Haeckel contended that this continent was the origin of mankind. Mew was one of LeMU's mascots. But what happened? Are you ill or...? No, I'm fine now, don't worry about me. It's over anyway. Oh, I see. The staffer disappeared. I see. It wasn't a tanuki. That was Mew. He wasn't sure why Mew had hauled off and punched him. But he knew that wondering about it wouldn't help. You were poking and prodding at him. Of course he punched you. So he decided to forget it. It's a big lemur though. Jesus. I thought they were like little. The thing's huge. You need to be getting somewhere. I looked around on my own a little more. He muttered this as he composed himself. He knew there should be several attractions at the other end of this corridor. His friends might have been looking for him as they waited in line. So which way should I go? His legs were so tight he could barely move. This is the world's worst theme park. And that's exactly how it felt. Oh well. Hit by a slight dizzy spell, he leaned against the wall. What in the world? He sighed. He was fully and utterly beat. The staffer that had just been talking to him had vanished somewhere. You wasn't around either. He'd lost sight of the other girl as well. He was alone again. What did I come here for? He thought that maybe he should have waited where he was before, after all. Having lost his destination, he rode the elevator from the aquarium and returned to the basement floor 2. Basement floor 2. Zweitstock. The second floor? I screwed up. The rest area is down one more level. It felt like he'd come a long way from the elevator room. He didn't know which path he should take to go down. Which way? Could you come here for a moment? A voice called to him from somewhere. From somewhere? From the shadows of the path, the owner of the voice was beckoning to him. But the hand did not belong to a human. Look, hurry up, will you? It was the whispering voice of a young woman. Her bulky black arms were swaying rhythmically. Disturbed by the difference between the voice and its owner's appearance, he moved, hypnotized in its direction. The hand and arm clearly belonged to a tanuki. It was a big tanuki. You know, didn't we already discover that it was a lemur? Do you know where we are? He was led by the tanuki into a room at the end of the walkway. Or rather, packed into it. Is this the girls' changing room? He saw a uniform. Like the one you had been wearing, packed away inside an open locker. I could even see some women's underwear. The room smelled like perfume. The air was saturated with a scent so strong it almost made him choke. The smell was about to overwhelm him. He struggled to get his mind under control and maintain his focus. Hey, do you know where we are? The tanuki asked him the same question. Come to think of it, why was she a tanuki anyway? He had no clue. This is the changing room. She said this before he could answer. Changing rooms are a place to keep secrets away from prying eyes. She said this quietly. Secrets? Suddenly his vision faded. Everything went completely dark. Huh? Will you look after this for me? Huh? What? Look after it? He didn't understand. Yeah, I hope you put it on right. Oh, wear it? He had no idea what she was talking about. Well, he didn't understand why, but he couldn't move. He was powerless to resist her and let her do what she wanted. In a moment, something completely covered his body. That should do it. Alright then, I'll leave the rest to you. And the light sound of her footsteps faded into the distance. The last thing he heard was the click of a door shuttering. He heard the sound, but he did not see her leave. What did she do to me? His face felt heavy, his body felt heavy. He had tunnel vision, and for some reason, his body was bristling with hair. Could it be that this is the mascot outfit? When he shook his head, it made it sound like bristles brushing something, and there was a smell. There was some other scent coming from inside the costume. A sweet smell that made him dizzy. It pierced deep into his brain. Before he knew what was going on, he'd opened the door and was shuffling out into the pathway. Alright, we need to wrap this one up because we're definitely out of time for this one. I have no idea what the fuck is going on, but I'm definitely invested into finding out more. So I guess we'll be back tomorrow with more Ever 17 Out of Infinity. Until then, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll see you in the next one.